Welcome to Behind the Tools. Here's Tradify CEO and your host, Michael Steckler.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Behind the Tools. This week our guests are in Hamilton, which is the North Island of New Zealand. We have Josh and Devina from DryGutts. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Thanks. I'm presuming, we'll sort of get onto what the business does, but I'm presuming the guts is an abbreviation of gutters. Is that where the name comes from?
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're not a pharmaceutical company like some people start to think we are. No, guts referring to gutters, dry guts referring to sort of, there's a problem in New Zealand with leaky homes and whatnot, and one of the big factors of that were not cleaning out your gutters. And so hence the name sort of Dry Guts came about. But I mean, it's not to be confused that we do full exterior building cleans, not just gutter cleans. Yeah.
And do you maybe want to sort of, maybe to start, just talk through, you just referenced kind of what the business does, but where most of your work is and what you do?
Yeah. So we do, so exterior building cleans is what we do. Probably 80% of what we do is residential exterior building cleans. 20% would be the commercial, but commercial is something that we're wanting to press into more and more. And we'll go into that a little bit later, I hope. But so we do everything from cleaning the roof with roof treatments or pressure cleans, to cleaning out the gutters, house wash, window blade cleans, driveway cleans, that sort of thing.
Yeah, cool. And then what made you, let's maybe start with the journey. Sort of a year ago, what made you get into this business?
Yeah, well, I've been in business for some time. I was born into quite a business-orientated family, but not all of my family would be so business-orientated or business-minded, you could say, as I have always been just from a young age. I was one thing that I often always say is I never just jumped into this business from being an employee to jumping into this business. It was always a process and a progress from the businesses that have come in the past. So there are a few businesses that never made the GST mark, never quite got GST registered. But then the first one that did get GST registered was an ice cream shop that we still run from this office here, and Devina looks over that as well. And
you still run the ice cream shop? Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we still run the ice cream shop, and it's downstairs. It's called Sunny Nelson. So that was really the first sort of business success that I've had. And then a year ago came along. Well, people often ask me, what do you do on a rainy winter's day in an ice cream shop, And it's kind of like, well, here it is, Dry Guts, We've kind of, I feel like, there's not much use trying to make something work that isn't really meant to work in the winter, which is, selling ice cream, selling Eskimo sort of thing, selling ice cream in the winter on a cold, rainy day. It's kind of like, well, let's expand and look at other sort of possibilities. What does need to be done on a rainy day? What's more not so seasonal, and through opportunity, Dry Guts came about, and that opportunity, which we'll talk on more, but is through my cousin and I, who have gone 50-50 split in the company and have different strengths, different weaknesses that we both fulfill.
And how did you get to the sort of house cleaning? Was he already doing that, or did you just pick on that as an area to focus on?
No, you're right, Michael. Yeah, so he was doing that for years up in Auckland, up in the big smoke, and then through COVID 2020 whatnot, he ended up moving down to a smaller Waikato town down here. And I was always very aware that exterior building cleaning was quite, the margins were very preferable, they were favourable. And this was just through conversations that I'd had with Mitchell over Christmas lunches and things in the past, years about, what he did and whatnot. So when he came down here and he was just working on a farm, I kind of said, why don't we do something there? Like, you've got the expertise of knowing everything there is to know with exterior building cleans. I know how to, run the company, and just through my experience with the ice cream shop, and we kind of joined forces and took our roles and went from there.
And so it's quite brave. It's sort of going back a year to launch it. Do you think having the ice cream shop and your experience prior to that gave you the confidence that it would work?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I was confident in myself, and I was confident in Mitchell's abilities as well. He's a very humble guy, but he knows what he's doing, And would I say it was brave? I wouldn't say it was brave, because everything that we did and how we started the business was very, very low risk.
Right.
Not much risk involved at all, really, because we were just using what we already had to start. And so we didn't invest $1 into the company. In fact, to this day, we haven't invested $1 of our personal money into the company. We just used what was within our grasp to start. And that was, we were using, I don't say this too loudly, but we were using the Sunny Nelson, which is the ice cream shop, the ice cream vehicle to transport and to kind of, it's a van, and we're using that as our DryGutts work.
Oh, so what you serve the ice cream out of, you would turn up to people's houses to clean them?
No, we don't serve ice cream out of it as much. We have an ice cream tricycle, and it needs to be.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Be transported from here to there, and it's used. We put it into the back of a van. So the van isn't food permitted or anything like that. It's just good. Just transporting the tricycle, and but we use that van as our DryGutts work van for the first winter. Before we saved up enough money to buy our own van.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
It's a good way of doing it. But presumably, did it say Sunny Nelson ice cream on the side?
No, it didn't. No,
it didn't. Oh, it's a shame. I've seen people's faces when you turn up and all the kids coming out of the houses, and disappointment when you come out with the big hose and the cleaning equipment. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we use and so that was one key to us starting. The other key was my uncle, who was he's a retired painter, and painters often need a water blast before they paint.
Yep.
And so he had a really good water blaster that he had purchased years prior, and he didn't need it anymore. And he said, "Hey guys, you can have it, but pay for it in about 3 months' time." So we started off with that. We didn't have to pay for it at all. 3 months' time,
right.
We paid for it. He gave us his water blaster and ladders and things like that to start off with, and we could pay for it in 3 months' time. So that was another key to, obviously the van, the water blaster, and then the first job that we got was a job for Dad, and he needed us to do a little bit of water blasting. That got us in a little bit of money to then buy a few more brushes, equipment, and things, and then kind of away we went. Cool. Yeah, I guess it was just using what was under our fingers, within our arm to start.
Yeah, and then how did you get, you talked about your first customers, your dad. What did you do sort of post that? How did you generate awareness in your area to get work?
Well, I always say, when people are going into business, whether it's young people like myself then or even now, or people are always shy to sell to their friends and their family. But for me, I would suggest that is your first point of call, because your friends and your family are your biggest supporters. Well, they should be, and just putting it out on Facebook, and that's what we did to start with. We just said, this is what we're doing, and that was our first point of call. That was our first customers, were our own friends and family, people that went, I know who you are, I know that you're new, and I know that you may not be perfect to start with, but here's a chance for you to do something for me that I need to get done, and help you start, So our first probably 10 jobs were all friends and family that we knew personally, and that got the ball rolling and got the income coming in, and then references came off that. And then, you know, as you know, like with things like Google reviews, you know, all your friends and family are going to write a great review, and it kind of just gets you started, you know. Friends and family is what gets you started, and that's what got DryGutts started.
It's a really, it does make a huge difference. I think a lot of people that set up businesses, and especially in trades businesses, struggle with that initial kind of door knocking or asking people for a favor or give us a go. And it's a really powerful vehicle. You know, one of the analogies I would draw is often restaurant owners, right? The first night when they open a restaurant, they fill it with their friends and family to make it look busy. And, you know, it's just a smart strategy that, you know, a passerby goes, wow, that place looks cool. It's busy. So it's good advice. And then, you know, you've clearly grown, and then you hired Devina to help out, who sat next to you. When was that, and how did you come to that sort of decision? At what point?
Yeah. I've known Devina for quite a few years now. We're in the same home group, same church group, and I've knowing that Devina is really good. Like, she's just very organised, and she's very she could go down a number of different career channels, really. And so I'm stoked that she's kind of in administration and whatnot, because she's also a pastry chef, and she's an amazing like, not calligraphy, but the English version of calligraphy. She'd go down that track, or one day you might even be starting your own business. So so Devina, I've known her for a while, and through church circles and whatnot, Devina just started doing part-time. It
was actually quite funny, because we had a home group retreat, and we were all carpooling with a bunch of our friends. And I just happened to be in the passenger seat while Josh was driving, because like the rest of us couldn't drive manual. And so Josh was like, oh, I can't drive and do the admin that I need to for Sunny Nelson today. And so he just passed me his phone and got me to do some like Facebook posts and those sorts of things, and write him a to-do list. And then after that, like I think it was about a month later or so, he reached out and he just gave me a call one day and was like, hey, I know you're pretty busy, but like, is this something you'd be keen to get involved with? Like, I need just a little bit more help to do some admin. And so originally it started off in about like September last year, that I'd come in once a week on a Tuesday for 2 hours. And then I finished uni, and I messaged Josh towards the end of last year being like, hey, like, I've really enjoyed working with you, but I am going to start looking for full-time work, because now I've got the opportunity to work full-time. And I think it was in like a couple of days you spoke to Mitchell, and then sent me an offer to join the team full-time starting in February. And then, after the summer holidays, basically just jumped on board, and I've been here months exactly this week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, fantastic. So start off part-time, and then, you know, did you, I guess there was a point where you decided, actually, probably because Davina's a great fit and this is a full-time role. How did you come to that decision?
Transitioning from part-time to full-time, always a good move, I think. You know, in fact, our one of the cleaners that works for us, exterior cleaners, he did that too. He went from part-time to full-time. Right. And it just lowers risk all around, right? It's like you already got this relationship. You already know they're great, you know, so going from part-time to jumping into full-time, there's hardly any risk. You already know what you're dealing with, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was a risk as well, because I was like, am I going to have enough work for Devina, you know? And having confidence in the company and in ourselves, I think, was a big thing, because we had to go, you know, we've proven ourselves in the part-time work that we've done in the past. Yeah. Now can we ramp that up and do full-time, and can we all jump on full-time and make this work, you know? And it was a risk, but something that we just had to really, you know, the stars didn't align with that so much, but it was kind of just like, well, let's just do it, you know, let's just jump into it. And we just had to take the jump. And it's great.
And what percentage, Davina, are you still helping out with the ice cream? Is it like a split between the two? Yeah.
So about like 80% of my day, I'll do stuff for DryGutts, and then like I'll follow up with inquiries and emails and any other admin stuff that comes in. Obviously, like we were a lot more busy in the summertime, so it was a bit more of an even split. But now that we're transitioning to winter, barely do anything, and I just leave it to our shop managers and staff downstairs to run it themselves, because they're all great guys. They manage it themselves.
Yeah. Cool. And then talk to me about, the role itself and how you think about, now building the business and growing. What's your approach there in terms of, you've got a network of customers, I presume. Are you still predominantly word of mouth now, or are you doing much in terms of lead generation?
Marketing and whatnot. It's definitely one of the big challenges of business, and just getting word out there and getting in front of the customer at the right time and whatnot. We do a lot of what we get through is word of mouth. A lot of it, though, is through Facebook marketing. Facebook is a golden tool at the moment, with marketing and whatnot. So we're using that. I would say probably most of our work comes through Facebook. At
the moment,
at the moment. It does kind of change a little bit week to week, depending on whether we're doing a great promotion on Facebook or not, Other sources are through, and often the best type of marketing that I can do is purely shaking hands, networking, and those are often the best customers as well, because I go to a networking event or whatnot, and I find out someone's a painter or someone, they need work done consistently. And so building a relationship with one client and getting work all throughout the year is far more valuable than getting one mum or dad in, residential area getting their house cleaned once every 18 months, So
yes.
Yeah. So a focus that I've got is to press more into B2B, working business to business rather than business to customer, because there's so much more fluency and consistency in working with other businesses that get constant business, rather than a customer who which has been great, and it's been our bread and butter to date, but is a lot more admin involved, a lot more you could say detail involved, because you're building a relationship with every residential client, building that trust, or you're building that trust once with a commercial client and then just getting consistent work there, so there's a big difference with the two.
Yeah, there is. Could you give me an example of that? Oh, sorry, Devina, you go.
I'm just going to say we've developed quite a good relationship with one of our property managers in the area as well. And so over the last 2 weeks, I've had actually quite a few inquiries that they'll just email me directly for being like, this is an address, this is what we need. And so like the communication between them is a lot less, because we're not sending them the same information every time. It's just, well, I'll schedule Josh in to pop in, have a visit, send you the quote. It's kind of speed up that process a bit as well. Yeah,
and because, customers are always, when they're dealing with you for the first time, they're always establishing, can I trust this person? Are they good at what they do? Like, who is this company? Whereas when you're dealing with a company over and over, all those things are already established.
You've done that work,
just get this job done, so much simpler.
Yeah, Davina, you sort of answered my question to a degree. My question was going to be, what's the most common kind of commercial use case? Is it property managers at real estate agents? Is that one of the sort of areas you're trying to focus on, or is it more than that?
So we've got that, and then we've also established a new contract with a commercial company who are also exterior cleaners across New Zealand, and they've just been a little bit of work. So they and we've started getting into the process of doing the jobs of that are their overflow. So that's going to be probably our next big
guaranteed set of work that comes through, and they've already presumably built a lot of those relationships and then just need someone that can execute against them. How did you Josh, I guess one of my other questions was around the networking. A lot of people listening, often one of the questions is, I need to go and build a customer base. Like, how do I approach that? Networking events does seem to come up a lot, whether it's business networks or otherwise. How did you identify those events and sort of take part in them and figure out what was the right thing to do?
Yeah, I can't say that I'm the networking king at all. I've got a friend that is, and I'm very far off him. And I'm always learning and growing in this. I would say that a networking event is great, but keeping in mind that most people at the networking event are there for the same reasons as you. They're trying to build something from the ground, and they're building that. Yeah, wanting to get those networks, and they're needing more work. They're needing to work more on their marketing and this sort of thing. And everyone's kind of in the shallows, like in the same sort of boat. Whereas if you just kind of get a pen and paper and you wrote down, okay, like what companies do I want to work with? For us, that would be great companies that we could work with, commercial painters. It could be reaching out to other exterior cleaners, that are much more established than us that need to offload work. It could be property managers who have a constant flow of work. And so instead of going to a networking event and meeting random people, that may have nothing to do with you, and spending your time there, actually going direct to the people that you actually do want to and need to work with, people that are very well established, and people that don't need to go to these networking events, and saying, hey, can I buy a coffee and just tell you about what we do, So I would say that's probably the best sort of networking advice I could give. At the same time, though, we've been very blessed as a company simply because we've had people come to us through seeing our Facebook marketing. They've come to us and said, like one of the companies that have come to us, they simply sent an email or a call or something and just said, hey, I've seen your Facebook marketing. We need to offload work. Can we have a meeting? And it was like, I didn't do anything to get that, they came to us. So I guess in one sense, we've been very blessed with that, and people have come to us and come knocking on our door rather than me going and knocking on theirs, But
I think, we've tried to focus on, like, even though we have been wanting to transition into doing more commercial jobs, the residential jobs that we do, we try and make sure we do them to the best of our ability. Like if there's anything that, like, when we go out onto a job site and like a client might have only requested a gutter clean, like if Josh is up there on a ladder and he sees things that need doing, he'll give them he'll quote it for them and give them the opportunity to do that job. And so, like, we really do invest the time into making sure what we do is really well. So I think that we've just been focusing on doing what we're doing at the scale that we're at. And then it's just been a blessing that other people have seen and heard that like, oh, these guys are really good. And this could be something that they might be interested in. So
it's important. And then, sounds like things have gone really well. What's been the biggest challenge for you sort of starting DryGutts in the last sort of 12 months?
I guess one of the things we talked about earlier was just like COVID in general. Like it's been a challenge, like especially with being a team of 4. Currently, like we've got Josh, myself, Mitchell, and one other tradesperson, Josiah. And if any one of us is down, like it does make a huge difference. Like I'm in a moon boot and I haven't been in the office for the last 2 weeks, and we've even noticed that like even just that has affected a little bit of our comms. And so it is definitely a challenge when one of us is down with like just illness or injury or having to isolate because of government regulations. Like it makes a huge difference to the team.
So those challenges and what Davina's talking about, those are all like things that are outside of our control. Political issues, well, not issues, but political sicknesses, health, general health, other things are like weather. If it's raining, we can't do a certain job and we got to reschedule, and it screws everything up. So the biggest challenges in a nutshell, I would say, are things that are outside of our control. But at the same time, it's great that these are our biggest challenges because people understand, political issues and weather, and it's all for. So
and when did you sort of talked about Josiah. When did you decide to bring someone else on? Was there a sort of volume of work you had that you wanted to get to before you made that decision, or was it more reactive that you just had too much work and try to find someone?
Oh, yeah. So I, to start off with, Mitchell and I, we were both doing jobs. So I'm the more marketing manager, business development, growth sort of person of the team, of the partnership between Mitchell and I. He's the exterior cleaner, But to start with, I was doing everything. So I was doing the marketing side, but I was also on the tools, And it was always a vision to have me, get to a certain stage where I could step out of that and bring someone else in to be on the tools with Mitchell, so that I could continue marketing. And my value was is greater in going out, shaking hands, and doing the marketing than being on the tools. And the business could grow quicker and bigger that way, So that was our first step, was to bring on Josiah and just bring on someone part time, which is like obviously a lot more lower risk. Just 2 days a week he was working, and then he started working 3 days a week, and then he went on full time, So it was a transition period.
Yeah, cool. Fantastic. And then it sounds like you're quite bringing Devina on, that you always had quite an eye and focus on the sort of business process and how to run the business. Was there a plan behind that in terms of how you thought about systems and processes?
Hey, when I first started, I was using Excel spreadsheets and things.
Yeah.
And I was asking Mitchell, when he worked in Auckland, what did they use, what did they do, and he gave me a few tips on, he would say, they use something similar to Google Maps but it wasn't Google Maps, it was something that you could hone down on, and you could view the perimeter of a building, or the area size of a field or a building or whatnot, And so I thought, okay, great, well, if that's what they use, I don't know what I'm doing, that's what I'll use too, So I jumped on board with Near Maps, which is an Australian company that covers New Zealand. Very clear imagery of New Zealand, which is great. And then I was using Excel spreadsheets, and man, like I had, I think, 5 jobs on the go, and I could not handle it. Like it was confusing. I didn't know where, it was like with only 5 jobs, I was thinking, I knew that, if we wanted to be sustainable in ourselves and grow well, that we needed to improve our systems, because what I'm currently doing is just not working. Even with just, 3 to 5 jobs, I was getting confused between them. So that's when I started looking for other software, the sort of management software that might be able to help us scale. And that's when I came across Tradify, purely through a Google search by going trade management systems in New Zealand. And then I came up with it, gave me a list of 10 or something. And some of them were New Zealand based, some of them were Australian based, some of them were US based. And I quickly jumped onto Tradify simply because I saw that it was its customer service and it was just like a New Zealand based company, and with Australia as well, and so that personal touch is what I often desire when it comes to. I'm not very techie myself, so if I had to call someone, I want to be able to call someone about an issue I'm having, rather than send an email and wait 10 days from the US for a response, and having something within my own time zone as well was important, and obviously something that was custom to our culture and way of life in New Zealand and Australia. So I jumped on board with Tradify, and it gave me more than I was really looking for, with the scheduling, with the quoting, invoicing, it was a challenge initially as well, jumping on board, because there's so much to the platform that I had to kind of, get up to speed on it. But it was really good as well when Devina came on board, because I said, here's Tradify, it's really good, don't really know how to use it, but can you try and find ways that we can most effectively and efficiently use these systems that I know are really good, but I know that I'm not using at its maximum efficiencies, So that was, I would... so Near Maps and Tradify have been keys and key software that we've used to scale the business.
when I joined on board, like we had already been using Tradify, so I basically just like continued doing that. But then like I did the 30-minute Zoom call where I got a bit of a training on how to use it, and then started changing a few things that we were already doing and trying to make them more efficient. So I kind of came in based on what we were already using and tried to make things more efficient.
Cool. Good. No, appreciate you being a customer. And then, sort of summarizing all of this, any advice if someone's listening who's looking to do the same thing as you, that you would, when you think back to when you started the business and you had some experience in launching businesses outside of the trades, any advice you'd give? The one thing that you think you did that you would recommend people to think about and do?
Yeah, well, one thing that comes to mind is if you wait for sort of the stars to align, so to speak, you almost need to be ahead of that. You kind of need to make that happen before everything's aligned. And because, man, when you're starting a business, it's quite scary, stepping out of your income from a job and stepping into something that is purely, generated by your own efforts, and I would say, if you have confidence in yourself, and or even if your confidence isn't quite there yet, and things aren't quite aligned yet, but to take the leap. But as well as that, I would say to use what you already have, the things that are already within your arm's reach, you need to utilize those. And people think of, what opportunity, what business can I start? They're starting to think of like starting a Rebel Sports or starting something massive, and it needs to be, I find you need to humble yourself to start small, to start easy, something that you can just, something that you're already aware of, something that you already know, because if you're going to go and do something that's completely left field, that you've had no experience in, it's that brings more challenges to the challenge of starting a business. Whereas if you're very aware of, say, you're really techie in yourself, your family always gets you to do their tech stuff, and so you jump into that. Or I don't know, if you love dogs, and then you want to start like a dog hound house or something, you do that. Or I find opportunity is always within arm's reach. It's always already under your fingers. And to start with what you already have, and take a risk in that. Because in a way survival mode steps in as well, and you do what you have to make it work,
It's been real cool, like knowing Josh and seeing the transferable skills that he's used from Sunny Nelson to DryGutts. And like, I think one thing that you did really well was that you recognized what your limits were early on, and were like, cool, like admin, hard for me, not for me. Don't like sending emails, don't like doing this. It would be really beneficial to get someone else in. And then it was, I think, really just good timing and good, almost not so much good luck, but like just having those contacts with people and knowing people like Mitchell who were experienced in what they were doing, and having me had just finished a management degree to like jump on board to do management. It's all like you've gone to the right people that you knew would be able to jump into the opportunity and thrive, which has been a real cool opportunity coming from just like learning about this stuff in a classroom to being given almost free reign to be like, cool, what can we do? How can we make this better? And that's been real cool for me. And like, I remember saying to Josh when he first got me on board and we were looking at a job site on Near Maps, and he was like, this is what I do when a job inquiry comes in. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, where are gutters in a house? Like, are they all the way around? Like, I had no experience in that side of thing. And then now, like, I use Tradify every day. And like one of the first things that we changed was when we get customer inquiries off our website, we would manually input that into Tradify, but then we found out it can actually be done all automatically. And so just minor things like that, just knowing about it has been able to make things so much quicker and remove the like human error element in a lot of our processing. So even though I'm at a desk like Monday to Friday, like I'm still able to manage like 20, 30 jobs and keep track of which ones are done, which ones need invoicing, which ones are still in progress, which ones we might need to go back to complete. Like we've also started doing gutter foam installations.
Right.
So yeah, like just as our business expands, like we've had different parts to keep up to, and I can do that all off that. So it's
cool.
Whereas I do not want to do what Devina does.
I have about 3 Excel spreadsheets that I use to track everything.
That's I think one of the things about setting up your own business. Though, is I think the ones that people that are successful. Sometimes you have no choice in the early days if it's just you, but figuring out what are the things I like doing, and lots of trades companies love being on the tools and they work out very quickly. I don't like the admin, and so how can I, whether that's outsourcing that to someone who's part-time, whether it's hiring someone at the right moment in time, but just having a view of what's the things that I'm not good at. I think you've hit the nail on the head, right? You're the business guy. Davina's taking care of the business side as well for you in the back office, and then you have in the field, you've got the experts who know how to do the work and love doing the work, and so that's a really great mix of skill sets that makes it work. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, no, you're 100% right. I do not want to do what Devina does. She's really good at it. Like I used to check my emails once a week. It was shocker.
Once a week.
Once a week. Yeah, Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, I check my email. And then
Tuesday. It's quite a random day as well. Monday would make more sense, but Tuesday. Okay, Tuesday. Any reason why it was a Tuesday?
Monday was often my day off from working in the ice cream shop.
Okay.
So busy the weekend, and then I'd have Monday off. So hospitality.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And then the Tuesday would become the admin day, and even now we still do payments on Tuesdays, just as it happens. But and then I wouldn't want to do what Mitchell does either. In terms of the actual on the tools. That's not me either. But what I am is the marketing, the networker. The plan behind growth and where we're going, and bring in those jobs, So
it's good. It's a good mix.
Value in every person, but every person isn't the same, and utilizing those values in people creates a strong business.
Yeah, it's really important. Okay, last few questions. We always finish on a few. I'm quite intrigued, and you can answer simultaneously, separately. It's entirely your call. If you weren't doing this, and I know you've already got the ice cream business, but what trade would you pick?
Do you have one?
What do you?
Yeah, I was thinking about it earlier, and originally when I started off in uni, I studied mechanical engineering, and one of the projects I did was we did some welding, and I jumped on as a technician to do welding. So I'd love to go into engineering or fabrication again, working.
Yeah, cool. There's the next business.
If I wasn't doing this, and if I was doing something completely different, it would probably be in the space of importing, exporting.
Yeah.
Mainly with China.
And what would you be importing and exporting?
Probably honey. I don't know.
You'd be exporting honey, yeah.
Exporting honey, or something. I have a love for China. I spent a few years there in my earlier days, and I'd probably be working in and around China. Yeah,
cool, great. And then you talked about a vehicle. If you were going to buy a dream vehicle, what would it be? What did you do when you bought the first van?
Well, my dream personal vehicle would definitely be a Skyline R30, a GTR. Skyline GTR R34, blue one, the classic.
It's very, very specific. Yeah.
That's my dream car. In terms of work car, a dream work car at the moment would be, we need a new truck, so I would get a truck. A flat deck truck,
Yeah, cool. And then, one of these, you don't do the work as much, but what are your favorite, if you had a favorite type of job for your business for DryGutts, what would it be?
I reckon it'd be driveway cleans for me.
Oh, yeah.
Just because they're so satisfying. I've watched a couple of the time lapses the boys have done, and
they're really cool. We've seen this. The before and after is great. So I love jobs like that where it's so obvious. Yeah,
they're very satisfying. Yeah. Driveway cleans.
Yeah. And how often the wooden houses? So for a lot of our listeners in the UK and other places where there aren't sort of the wooden villas that you have in New Zealand, and therefore you don't necessarily get your buildings cleaned in the same way. How often do most houses need to be cleaned? Someone told me it was once every 5 years. I'd love your perspective because everyone disagrees.
Yeah, okay. Depending on the trees and the sort of environment around it, but a lot of people like to get their house cleaned once every 18 months.
18 months.
Yeah, okay. Other people, it might be like, if they're not so fussy on it, maybe once every 5 years. But when it comes to gutter cleans, depending on your environment, again, that might be something that needs to be done twice a year.
Twice a year, yeah.
If it's not so much sort of foliage and trees around you, it might be once a year. For others, it might be once every 5 years. So it just depends on the environment.
Where you are. Cool. And then last question, last couple of questions. The last one really is, when you're having lunch, sort of over there in the Waikato, what would be if you're going to treat yourselves, what would it be?
Well, we're very fortunate that where our office is downstairs, we've got the ice cream shop, and then also Josh's brother actually and his wife own a cafe, and they do stuff. So 9 times out of 10, I tell Juliet and Malcolm that I should just.
What's the name? What's the name of the cafe for anyone that's in the neighbourhood that maybe hasn't always passed through? Just for future reference, give them a little bit of a shout out.
Yeah, it's Lurker, 7 Greenwood Street.
Lurker Cafe, yeah. So it's a homeware and cafe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's literally right below us. It's
directly past.
Yeah, it's very convenient.
So you're just recycling the money through the family. This is great.
Yeah,
basically. I just tell Josh not to pay me, just set up a direct debit to them. It's great.
Yeah,
cool. And then anyone else you think we should speak to next on the podcast? Anyone you come across in your line of work that you think would be a great guest?
Do you have anyone in mind?
Cleo?
Oh yeah. Cleo, he works more in IT. He's an IT man. Kind of started his own business, team of 2, I think. Yeah, but he's got a lot going. So he's obviously got some comprehensive systems and things that he works with. He set us up on Microsoft 365 as well, and this sort of that.
Did a whole overhaul of our security systems digitally.
But one company that I have become more aware of recently is a company called Cantech. They're a large. They do commercial painting and stuff, and I guess it's just a company, whether it's for you or me, I'm just wanting to find out more about them, more about their systems and how they do things, because I know that they've got a lot on. They have a base in Rotorua as well as Hamilton here, and it'll be just interesting to see how they do things. One other company that I'm interested to see how they do things is a company called, I've never reached out to them or anything, but ASAP. They're called ASAP.
Yeah.
And they're building maintenance and things. They don't do new builds or anything, but they're also building maintenance. I think they do small builds like granny flats and things like that. But I've just noticed around the city that they're growing very quickly, very fast, and it'll be very interesting to know how they've done it. And how they've done it. I don't know. It's a company that I'm actually wanting to reach out to and talk to and say, how do you do it?
Well, we'll take you up on that. Yeah, we'll get in touch.
Yeah,
cool. Great.
Cool.
Well, I appreciate. There goes a customer. I can hear ringing in the background, either for ice cream or for a gutter clean. Really appreciate you doing this. I know you're both really busy, so I appreciate you spending the time. So, Josh and Devina from DryGutts, thanks again, and to everyone else listening, if you could rate, review as always. We'll speak to you next time. And Josh, Devina, great to meet you both. Thanks for joining. See you soon.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. Behind the Tools is brought to you by Tradify, job management software for your trade business. If you enjoyed the podcast, let us know by leaving a review, and be sure to tell your mates about it. Email behindthetools@tradifyhq.com if you or someone you know would be keen to join the show as a guest.